Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast on artificial intelligence today. Today, I'm sitting with Jing Yuan from Singapore, who is our expert in artificial intelligence, and we're going to be talking about how AI is disrupting the businesses. We're also together with four of our most brilliant junior talent across the region, who are going to be able to tackle different elements that they work on in their opinion paper as part of the Perspectives report that we issued last year. So JY, if we start with basically defining, what is AI today, and also if you can tell us a little bit about how AI is transforming the way we do business.
Thank you, FX. Hello, everyone. So actually, artificial intelligence is a very broad and general term. It's a collection of multiple technologies working together to enable machines to simulate human intelligent processes, including learning, predicting, planning, and problem solving. All these the technologies include deep learning, reinforcement learning, big data systems, and AI acceleration hardware. In fact, most of us interact artificial intelligence in some form or another every day, such as a virtual assistant, right, in our iPhone, which is an application of speech and language recognition. And also another example, self-driving cars. This is an application of a vision recognition system. Or you go to e-commerce website, the recommendation engine will suggest a product you might like based on what you bought in the past. So all these artificial intelligence applications happen in our day-to-day life. In business, artificial intelligence has a wide range of usage. A lot of leading organizations are already leveraging the power of AI to amplify their business outcomes, such as designing and launching new products and new services, all new business models. We also find a lot of application usage to increase the productivity, optimize business processes, and reduce cost. For example, for one of our international retailer clients, our AI-empowered solution to optimize their sales forecasting with around 10% uplift in the forecasting accuracy. So if we translate into financial numbers, it is equivalent to 100 million euro of inventory cost saving every year. And another example from fraud detection. For a European government agency, our fraud detection system has already delivered a 10 times return on their investment. We also apply machine learning and deep learning algorithms to monitor and predict when to buy will need repairs in a manufacturing industry. So all these one are the real life examples and applications, how people, how consumer, and how business using AI right now.
Excellent. Thank you, JY. Actually, that makes a quite easy bridge to our next participant. Emily, you worked in your opinion paper about decoding artificial intelligence. Do you want also to share some light on how AI can contribute to businesses and influence decisions?
Yeah, absolutely, FX. So as JY has briefly mentioned before, especially in retail, right? There's a lot of business decisions such as product modeling or designing that has been using AI to optimize what are the market needs. So how do the products better cater the customer's needs based on the data they've collected online, whether it's digital footprint by the potential customers or word of mouth via social media, right? So there's a lot of data that can be extracted from online, whether during the process of ordering or how social media has influenced customers' demands and then thus impacting the decisions that business might need based on the data they've collected from all sorts of information. And I think for business decision wise, it can be kind of important, especially on the marketing side, because that's where, especially for retail, right? That's how they predict the market demands, and that makes the business decisions on how to choose which product to, say, for example, luxury brands or electronic products as well. Which model is going to be more popular, which functionalities, say, for example, 5G or AR, which one is going to be trending for the markets that better suits the market needs for them to generate better revenue. So I think those kind of all very applicable to not only retail, but in general, marketing decisions on whether or not which products is going to be more catered to customers' needs. Yeah, I hope that answers the question, Suffix.
Thank you, Emily. Kevin, you have worked on a particular sector, actually. You were looking at medical and healthcare. Since you've talked about how AI revolutionized the healthcare industry, do you want to share how at times it can also be a challenge?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, FX and Jingyuan. Thanks for having me here. I think when we talk about medical AI, we always think about how it can automate some of the processes that we have in here and maybe even increase the accuracy of a lot of these predictions that we have to have in medical science. But I perceive there are three major forces that are behind the opposition of medical AI. The first being the medical professionals themselves, namely the physicians. And then the second would be the patients. And then the last, I think, would be the medical service offerers, namely the hospitals management. So why would that be? If you take the physicians as an example, they might perceive the AI as taking their job away. I mean, they have took such a long time to get their degree, to get their certificate, and getting professionally licensed to do the work. But then you have a certain algorithm with a trained model out there, and that could just replace them in terms of like prediction accuracy in diagnosis, for example. And that really scares the hell out of a lot of these professionals. So we have to tell them that a lot of the AI that we have here, maybe we can discuss that later, is to help the medical professionals move to higher, more value-added work. The second part for the hospital's management, I think they are scared of taking responsibilities of a lot of the medical blunders, like medical accidents when medical professionals like physicians, they make the wrong diagnosis. And then you could also perceive with AIs coming into the picture, they could also make wrong decisions. And then who's gonna take that responsibilities? That sort of gray area is scary for the hospital's management. And that's sort of discussed in my article as well. The last one being the patients, I think they are feeling medical science is something that is something that has to do with their bodies, and if it's not a human being that's taking care of their bodies, then it sort of loses the personal touch. And for humans, it's natural to perceive that as to lose confidence in that sort of medical work. So we have to educate the public and to sort of convince them step by step by taking some baby steps in the medical procedures, in some simple aspects of it, instead of having the AI replacing the whole medical procedure as a whole.
Very interesting when you look at it from the medical perspective to see that not only the automation is also a risk for some of the job in medical and healthcare, which are premium jobs or require a lot of trainings, but patient experience is really at the heart of how to make it successful, as you just mentioned. In some ways, I think it relates to Faizam, what you've discussed, on the potential of artificial intelligence in customer engagement, something that is very close as well to what Capgemini works on and helps their client doing. So with the evolution of customer expectations, particularly for customized services? How does AI play a significant role, Faizan?
Well, hello everyone, and hello to all the listeners. Well, I believe traditionally customer expectations towards a business was, are they receiving the product for what they have paid? Is it worth paying X number of amount to the product? So their expectation was just a pretty basic level, but today's modern customer expectations has evolved. It's not just bounded with the amount and the product. They want more and more and more. They think about what are the services available with this product. Does the business offer personalized services? They check the business's services review on Google in regards to how they look after their customers. Do they provide connected journey? They always want to know what's that extra thing offered by the business so they can trust and invest their money to buy or purchase the product. This is very challenging for the current businesses to meet and maintain those modern customer expectations. And here I believe artificial intelligence comes in. It's the best mate for businesses to deal with today's customer. Not only it will help businesses in dealing with their service operations towards customers, but also it will boost their sales by targeting potential customers. One of my personal experience is I was just in a shopping and in a bookstore, and then I purchased a book. I went out for the payment of the book, and then the lady over at the tilling, she asked me, would you like to register for our bookstore? I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I gave my email ID and my contact details to her, and then I purchased the book. I came back, and then after 2 months, one of my friends has suggested me a next book to read. So I just did some Google about to get an idea about what is this book about. And then the third month, I got an email from the bookstore, and it was on my birthday, wishing me happy birthday. And then they gave me $20 voucher, and then they said that with a poster in the email that the book which I was browsing a couple of weeks back, which was there in that email. So I was like, oh, this is the book, bang on, this is the book which I was looking for, and then I'm gonna get for $20 discount. So why not? Let's just purchase it. So although it's from the external perspective, it's the complete connected journey for the customers, but from the internally, the artificial intelligence is playing around for the businesses and the customers to connect and then provide their continuous connection, I would say. One other example could be when we are texting. These days, we see that we don't need to type the complete text word. As soon as we type one word, the next word is being predicted onto our keyboard, and then we can just touch that next word, and then we are done. So everything is making day by day is pretty easier, and I believe those three aspects which Jing Yong has mentioned about the learning, machine learning, predictability, and then data. I believe these three aspects, collecting it, and then through collecting it, the businesses can hit the modern customer expectations through artificial intelligence, I would say.
Seems like there is an endless possibility for businesses to better interact with their customers with this new technology. What we see in society is that there is also an increased concern from the customers on the ethics behind AI, the privacy, how the collection of data happens, and also that perceived, convenience. Is it also hiding to some extent a bit too much information about yourself and the access that you give to your privacy? So that brings us to a different element of the conversation that is really related to the ethics. And JY, in your report on from the perspectives report from last year, you mentioned that Capgemini research, shows the organization needs to address AI ethics from the start to be able then to scale the AI adoption across an organization. Do you want to to us a little bit more about this, because I think this is also a concern that probably some of the customers try to address as they scale in the AI adoption.
Yes, that's correct, FX. So from one of our previous research report called the AI Power Enterprise, we found that the AI at scale leaders are outperforming the struggling organization in ethical governance. So now let's think about the key persons in AI adoption. So we believe the first group is a business stakeholder within organization. So in some organizations, business stakeholders still consider the AI systems as a black box. So which makes it challenging to adopt AI solutions in the core business operation. In this case, explainable AI is very, very important for business stakeholders to be able to trust and integrate the insights in their day-to-day decision-making process. Another important group for AI adoption is customer. So they are the end user of a huge number of AI applications. So how to drive customer satisfaction and trust is another key component. We found that a majority of our customers expect organizations to provide AI interaction that are transparent and fair. Hence, when we evaluate the progress of ethical AI, we generally focus on if AI is explainable, fair, auditable, and transparent. All these 4 dimensions should be introduced and embedded throughout of the life cycle of AI system, starting from the intended purpose, design, develop, until to application. So for example, in order to increase fairness, we should identify and correct bias from a training data set and AI algorithm design, such as gender bias, race bias in all the training data set. In addition, at the start, organizations need to define what is fair and ethical, which will help with the following design, development, and application. So another example, auditable AI requires documenting the full map of how data is collected, how the AI was built and tested. So in order to accelerate the AI adoption at scale, Capgemini always guide and help our clients embed and integrate ethical AI from the start with a clear accountability within the organization.
Starting strong on ethics and then scaling. That's quite a powerful message.
Yeah.
Gabrielle, in your paper, you went as far as questioning the humanity of artificial intelligence. You mentioned in the report that AI, should take over humanity, or it should be required to take over humanity for the economy to be successful. Can you share your thoughts on how can AI bring more harm than good, and how do we prevent it?
Hi, FX. Yeah, so thank you so much for introducing me, and thanks, Junior, on your opinion piece as well. I actually found, and I agree wholeheartedly with you on the ethics needed for AI to actually be very relevant in the business world today and in the economy as well. So why I wrote my opinion piece was mainly because I delve in AI myself, and I work with a lot with RPA, for example, as a robotic process automation as part of my job as well. So part of the thought process that came to me was actually thinking, what exactly can this technology be used for, and is it quite a danger to be used in this phase? Which actually brings me to the point which you shared on the ethics of it. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Companies and organizations should put the ethical front of AI before anything else, because as all of us know, the ethics behind AI and the capabilities of AI are just up to today, developing at a pace that we can't even imagine right now, and it's going way too fast. So how exactly can AI actually bring more harm than good to this? I think as an example, we can look at how social media has developed to today. AI has been integrated into the social media for in countless of facets. And as of today, many of us would think that that's really a good thing, but we must also understand that many of these AIs can actually be reverse engineered to actually be more harm than good as well. So an example that I can think of from social media is actually the issue to do with privacy as well. For most of these marketing materials and for such an automated avenue for us to be directed, it can also be an avenue for the information to be redirected back as a form of invasion of privacy and some things that we just wouldn't want an entire organization to know about it. So this is just one of the many examples in which I feel that AI can actually do more harm than good, especially in the hands of humans in effect who might not understand the ethical repercussions of AI as well. I think it's important that we all should know that in the hands of human beings, AI is also subjected to many different facets of humanity that we have discussed. But one thing that I've actually felt that AI hasn't been able to replicate is the humanity aspect of it. The ability for an AI to actually replicate a human's consciousness, a human's ability to empathize with a fellow human being, or to sympathize and also to know, basically to replicate that conscience as a whole. So maybe something shouldn't be done, for example, reversing that. And I felt reversing the entire social media privacy issue for organizations to gain more information about you, for one. So how do we prevent it? I feel right now companies or organizations have already addressed this by actually questioning and making sure that the ethics involved here are sound, and also that the right people are assigned to the right job and good people are able to use this form of technology to the fullest extent, which is good as well. How do we prevent it? I feel that up to today, since AI has not been able to replicate that human aspect of what makes us human, the ability to empathize with one another, the ability to exercise restraints on our conscience as well, that the final word should always remain with humans as well. That decision-making point on whether a movement is right or wrong in a field should always remain with humans as well. So that's just my 2 cents on that take. So yeah, thanks, FX.
Interesting to see that you're using empathy as the main differentiator between humans and the machine, and on the long term, that's what is going to be the very difference. That's quite very trendy word as well that we use a lot more now to define the new skills that are necessary for leadership. Kevin, working on the medical sector and healthcare, I think this is by essence a world in which empathy is really necessary. So if we look at this sector, how can it leverage the most out of this new technology, but also being able to make ethical judgments?
Sure. I think, first of all, talking about what I just talked about, the opposition coming from the patients, like what you just talked about, a lack of empathy and maybe a perception on a loss of human touch from the AI. I think on one hand, of course, like what I just discussed, we need to educate the public on how powerful AI could be on increasing the accuracy and the efficiency of the medical procedures. But on the other hand, we might also have to match the human perception by increasing the personal touch from the AI, like increasing the conversational ability of the AI, having it be able to listen to the patients and maybe to communicate with them just in a way that increases the patient's confidence. I think that's one way that we could have AI more blended into the whole business process of medical science. But on the other hand, like what Jingyuan has talked about, having AI being able to be explained, I think it's not just something that's demanded by the AI community, by the public, but it's also demanded by the governments. For example, the European Union is planning to have that legislated and to demand a lot of these AI products use in different business practices that have to use explainable AI algorithms. And why they have to be explainable, like what Jingyan also talked about also, if we are not using some of these more simplified algorithms like decision trees, and instead we're using neural networks for a lot of the more complicated machine learnings, a lot of these algorithms sometimes are hard to explain. They're not as intuitive as we think, and they might generate really awesome results like what we can see from AlphaGo, but it's really hard to tell how they generated that result. It just seemed like a black box. So there are more studies into this field now. For example, like deep explanations, having the AI not only be able to generate the results, but be able to generate the reasoning behind the results, like how I derived this because of what or because of what. And I think that's an important step in increasing the confidence and how we could leverage that better. I think the last thing I want to talk about is how we could break AI applications into smaller baby steps, like what I just talked about for your first question. Because a large problem might be hard to tackle, but if we break it into smaller parts of the business process, for example, when we have to do triage for the patients as the hospital, we want to know which of the patients are more urgent, which are not. We could simply take in basic information like the patient's history, the patient's blood pressure or the breathing rates, and all the other inputs that are necessary for the normal medical professionals to see if they need to be triaged to emergency departments. We have that instead being done by the AIs. And then in that way, the training for the model would be a lot simpler compared to having the AI to do all the jobs that are within a doctor's or a physician's scope. And I think by embedding these baby steps into the procedures, we can bit by bit increase the public's acceptance and also to leverage the power of AI in medical science.
Very interesting to think that AI is actually going to be able to some extent, thanks to the automation and the different things that you just detailed and presented, to allow the human beings in the process to own and to improve that empathy aspect that Gabrielle was talking about just before. So I think that brings us to the last part of our discussion, which is really about, we've talked about the what and the why, and now I think let's talk about the how, basically, and how we can basically on board on that transformation and these new technologies. JY, in the organization's AI system today and what you see with clients and customers, how can data acquisition and privacy security go hand in hand, and what are the processes that are put in place in order to do just that?
Yeah, FX, well, there are no universal guidelines. We believe that organization can take control for their data privacy and security by taking a set of actions. So firstly, organizations should abide by all data protection regulations in their regions, such as GDPR in Europe and PDPA in Singapore. These regulations enable data privacy and security when collecting data and deploying AI, which in turn supports transparency and fairness. For example, in Europe, the GDPR has provided guidelines for organizations to evaluate their privacy and security risk when organizations acquire and process customer data. Secondly, organizations need to frame a comprehensive ethical charter for defining data and AI purpose, development, and use. For example, when data team, data scientists or data engineering collect data and train data system, they must ensure they follow ethical practices defined in the charter, such as respecting customer privacy, customer consent, as well as ensuring no bias for or against any particular group of customer. Also, it's very important to define how to build transparency into customer data collection, data analysis, and use in AI. Last but not least, organization must give customers the freedom to opt in and opt out from receiving marketing communication from the company. Providing this control is crucial to empowering customer and making them partnering in use of AI. Also accelerate the AI adoption in the overall customer journey. So these are some actions the organization can take to control their data privacy and security in their data and AI journey.
Thank you. Faizam, on this topic, customers today want to avoid complex procedures during engagements with businesses. How can AI make the process of customer engagement simple and easy?
Thanks, Bex. Majority of businesses have taken steps to digital transformations, but now I believe the next step to upgrade is to bring artificial intelligence in their business operations. We humans wearing a cap as a customer potentially tend to consider routes or paths which are easy, fast, simple, but still effective. And I think even if you look up from the human psychology perspective, it's who we are by nature. If I am out for shopping and there are multiple queues for tilling, I would definitely take a shortest queue because I don't want to wait. Similarly, from a business perspective, they need to provide easy but efficient procedures for their customers to engage, and artificial intelligence can hit this goal pretty well. For example, could be bringing chatbots. Recently, there has been, due to COVID, there has been banned for travel. So there has been a lot of customers who wanted to cancel their flight tickets. But of course, if you want to cancel the flight ticket, you need to call to the customer care center and you have to wait for several minutes just to speak with the support agent. But instead of that, if there is chatbots, they can post a question into the chat and chatbots can respond to their query pretty quick and efficiently as well. So I believe artificial intelligence would be a great process for customer engagement. It will be very simple and easy to opt as well.
Thank you, Faizam. Actually, I'm having PTSD only thinking about calling for changing a flight, so I can totally relate to what you just said. Emily, you have referred as well in the Capgemini Research Institute about how business have deployed use cases of AI to scale throughout multiple business terms across sectors. Do you want to talk about the future of AI in various sectors like retail and life sciences, just as you did in your opinion paper?
Yeah, of course. So following up to what all of you guys have just said, right? Because of the current situation, a lot of retails and a lot of life science related sort of like seeing doctors. So now instead of going to a clinic, a lot of non-emergency sickness or unwellness has been done through online, right? So a lot of lifestyle shifts and business model have been changed, which has gone online, especially for retail as well. So even in Asia, I know that I think we've all know that it's all very common in the US or in the Europe, right? Everyone goes online shopping because of how their National Geographic is, and they are quite spread it out, right? So deliveries like Amazon or all of different online retailers are fairly big in scale versus as in Asia, for example, in Hong Kong. So all of them are very local and very physically brick and mortar shops, right? But then because of COVID and a lot of things slowly also shifted to online as well. One is because of avoid physical contact, right? So in that case, a lot of more digital footprints has been created on the internet, right? So there's more data available and more business opportunities coming up, not only for chain stores that have been shifting their business models online, catering the online buying and retailing, and also for life science to have online appointments and video calls for how do you say it, to see the doctors as well, right? So the opportunities are huge, and we've also seen a lot of startups starting to engage on social medias and online stores and different various of business models like drop shipping and doing different kind of online businesses as well, leveraging all the targeted ads and social medias and data that can collate that affect their business decisions. So yeah, that's a very good insight from all of you guys, and I'm learning a lot as well. Although I'm not, like having real life working experience in AI, but then I know a lot of us are interested in AI, and I think we're learning from each other, from insights, experiences as well. So thank you everyone, and thank you FX for hosting this opportunity for us.
Thank you guys. Thank you also for participating last year into this opinion paper competition. I think that was really, really rich to see all of these insights and all of these opinions being shared. We've been able to build that great report of the perspectives thanks to your inputs. There was a lot of content on AI with a lot of different ideas going everywhere, and very interesting, very rich. JY, as the expert, in this area, I will maybe let you close on this conversation, maybe and conclude. Maybe also like reminding some of the key messages that you've shared with us.
Thank you, FX. So I think today is a very good discussion. We have covered a lot of important topics in AI domain. However, I also want to call for action. So in this data and AI journey, the transformation is not say we invest technology, we invest people, we hire the data scientists, AI expert, then we can achieve the result. Actually, it's not. We need everybody to join this journey, to change our mindset, to change our ways of working, to adopt AI technology in your day-to-day decision making, in your day-to-day business operation. Then we will use AI to bring a tangible outcome, business outcome to the company. Also, we can bring a better customer experience to every consumer. So this is the objective we want to see from AI journey in every organization. Thank you, FX and everyone.
And this is the end of our podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone.